Hi guys, in this video we're going to start building our dashboard. We'll start with a table and a slicer. So very simple stuff, but we're going to explore all the possible options that we can use. So let's check it out. Okay guys, now that we connected to the internet, we got our files from the website and we have the data here. We will start to build our dashboard. So first of all, when you are connecting, a good tip is to copy your existing data before going and refreshing the data. So the best way to do it is when you are here looking at your data, you right click on the table that you want and you choose copy table. This will copy the whole table. I go back to Excel and I can paste it. So now I have a copy of all my data in Excel. Now if I go to check on my data, we go back to the first page. I'll choose transform data and you see that Power BI is giving me that when the last time I refreshed this data. So this data is 4 days old. I can say refresh. And what's happening now is that Power BI will go to the internet, connect to the website and get a new data. Okay, now that the data is refreshed, I have a fresh copy. What I can also do is make another copy. So I go back to my tables here. I can say copy table, go back to my Excel, create another sheet and paste. So now I have the 2 dates in the Excel sheet. Okay, so let's go back and look at our table. You notice that the numbers are not formatted properly. What I always like to do is format them in a number format. The easiest way, if I go here and I look at my, I choose a field on the right and I'll choose the decimal number here. If I go back and look at the new cases, you will see that those are formatted with the comma. So it's easier to read numbers like this. So what I'll do, I will change for all my numbers, I'll change the format. So now my data is ready. If you remember, we know what those 2 tabs or those 2 icons can do. So the first one will look at our data. The second one will give us any relationship. And now it's time to start working with this icon here. This is where we will start to build our dashboard. So what we are going to see today is how we can build tables and slicers. So the first thing is we have a blank area here where we can build whatever we need. So just one tip, the first time you choose a visualization from here, when you click on it, it will make it, it will create one immediately in the blank area. So it's very important to know that if you want to create something else, you click outside. So now this table is not selected. This is how it looks when selected. Now it's not selected and now I can choose to add something else. Okay, so you'll see it's added in another way. Now we remove this one. Why this is important? Because if this is selected and I choose something else, the visualization will change. So this is not a table anymore. It will pick up what I chose from the visualization area. So this is a table. If I click on a slicer, this will change it to a slicer. But if I want both of them, this is a table. I click outside and then I click on a slicer. Now it's creating a new visualization. So let's go back. Before we start with this, let's go back to the table. So now I have my table here. I need to start putting the data. So it's very simple process. We have few different ways. Either I can drag and drop directly. So let's say I want the continent. I can take the continent and drop it here. So now this is the list of the continent that I have. The other way is, let me say I want the countries. I can just click on countries instead of dragging. And you click on country, and then you will see that the country have been added. So I can maximize this so we can see it properly. And I want to see, let's say, population, total cases, and total recovery. So as you see, just by choosing those fields, they've been added to the table. The order that I've picked them is essential, so they've been added in the same order that I've chosen. Now if I want to move something, let's say I want the total recovered before total cases, I can click on the field and put it up, and then now you see here they have switched in the order. So I picked my data, I picked the field that I want to include in my report, and you see that because those were detected as numbers, automatically the total have been added to the table. Now of course our data is not clean, there is some errors that we will see how we can fix, but for now this is just a way of adding data to a table. Now if we look here, once the table is selected, I can use those two options. So this is to format the table, and this one is related to the field. So let's explore these in details, because this is very important to understand. It works exactly the same in all other visualization that we are going to use. So now I am selecting the table. I can switch between those two icons, and those are related to the table. If I click outside, you will see that this area is changing. It's not even related to the table anymore. I click on the table, and now I see the fields. So one of the things that we can do is, if you click on this field, I can rename it, and I want to include only the country here. So I can rename the field, and you will see that it will change in the title here. Population is fine. Total recovered and total cases, I would like to add a space, so I will rename, click here and space, and total cases I'll do the same. I will rename it and total cases is included. Now if I look at this table and I want to change some of the formatting, anything related to formatting is in the second tab here. So I click on the format, and I have all those options that we'll explore quickly. So general, this is a general idea about our table, the position. If I want to change it, I will not need to change anything here. Style of the table is something that we can choose. I can say I want the header to be bold, or you have different styles that you can choose from. So this is contrast to the alternating rows. You can see that this is changing now. So I can control all aspects of the table here. If I want the grids on off, usually those are really easy to detect. The important part is here in the title. If I want a title for this or not. If I choose I want a title, I click on it, and the title is Corona Virus Table. So what you see here is this have been added to my table as a title for the whole table. I can choose to change the color. So let me make it red. And I don't need a background color, so this is fine. So what I can do now is that I have everything that I need. I did the format that I want. One thing that is really interesting is that those headers are also clickable. So if I click on population, the population is now sorted. So from highest to lower. If I click on country, those will be alphabetical order. And if I want the same totally covered, I have it by just clicking on the title. So let's see what errors we have in the data. If you see that, first of all, because we captured this from the internet, the data was not really clean. So if you look at the country here, I have total, I have the world, I have Europe, North America, etc. So those are not countries. What I can do, and this is really a useful thing, I go back to the filter, and this is a new feature added recently to Power BI. There is something that is called filter on this page. So at this stage, nothing is filtered. I have all the data as captured. Instead of going and deleting data from my tables and re-importing, etc., I can filter my table to eliminate all the errors that I don't need. So let's see how we can do this. What I want is I want to filter on the country. So I put countries here. What I can do in my filter now is I will select everything, but I remove what I think is not correct. So I don't need Africa as a country. I will look for total. So I don't need total in my country. I don't need the world. I can remove it. And let's remove Europe. And North America, so deleted, and one more is Asia, removed. Okay, so now I only have countries, so I removed anything that is not related to a country. And my data is clean. Maybe it's a good idea to go and check if there is any other field that we did not see, but usually I think we captured everything. If we find anything else, we can remove it in the future. So what I did for now, I had my data, I created my table here, I changed some formatting, and I created a filter on my data for the whole page. Now let's see how we can create our own filter. So I click out and I will choose slicer. Slicer is the same thing as a filter in Excel. So the same thing, I want to filter, let's say, on a country. So I click on country, and now I have a list of countries that I need to, I can filter on. I can go here to my slicer again, and one interesting thing is that I can choose the type. So either a list or a drop down. What we have now is a list. If I choose a drop down, it will collapse, and now I can click here and open it. So it all depends on what you, on the space that you have or what you can do. I close back, I collapse this. So if I don't have enough space, I can use it like this and make it smaller, or for this exercise, I will keep it as a list so we can see how we can work with this. So what can this slicer do for me? The simplest thing is that if I click on one, my data is filtered immediately. So I chose Australia, the data is filtered. I did not create any link, anything else, just I put my slicer on this format on this screen, and Power BI knows how to connect the data automatically. One of the useful option for the list is the selection. So if you see here, I have a square, I can choose the one and it's selected. If I click on another, the first one is not selected. I can control click if I want multiple selection. So in this case, I'm choosing my countries, and whatever I'm choosing here, they are showing back in my table. So I can change this behavior by going here to the format tab, and I will choose single select. So if I put single select on, you've seen that those have changed to circles, and in this case I can force my user to choose only one. So in case you don't need multiple selection, you can use this option. I put it back off. So one click will select one, control click will keep the previous one and will select a new one. Now, one of the options that we can use also is here in the formatting tab. You can see that we have here the multi-select with control. If I put this off, what I can do now, instead of control and click, I can just click and they will be added. So this is something that you can decide what you want to do. Either control click to make selection if this one is on, then in this case if I click without control, everything is removed. I need to click control and click to have multiple selection, or if I change this to off, now I can click and they will be added. Another good option is here, select all. If I put it on, you see that an option is created at the top that says select all. So select all, it means selecting everything, or this is a little bit confusing where I don't have anything selected. It means I'm not filtering on any field, so everything is showing. So this behavior, you just need to get used to it. So I remove the select all and I will choose a few things. Now an important icon that you see here on the top right, this one looks like an eraser. So this will clear the filter. Once I click on it, everything is cleared. So just clear all the filter that I have. So this is basically a simple video on how those things work. One last thing I want to show you is if I click on this table and I put my mouse on the filter, you will see that it's showing me that I'm filtering now on country without Africa, total, world, etc. So everything that I removed from my data in the beginning, I can validate that they are removed from the table here. We will stop here for this lesson, and in the next lesson we will keep exploring some more options. Now that we've seen how we can use tables and slicer, we are ready for the next session. See you in the next video.